come with both challenges and opportunities. As we know very well, that law students are very opinionated, analytical, and passionate. And that's what makes that faculty very vibrant. Everyone can concur with that. But it also meant that leadership here required patience, empathy, and a deep sense of responsibility. Our main mission at the SFRC when we got inducted was very simple but very powerful. To ensure that every student's voice and academic right within the university is heard and respected. We wanted to make sure that our academic experiences within the university was not only intellectually demanding, but also fair, transparent, and empowering. Throughout our term, we worked to strengthen the bridge between the students and faculties. We engaged in meaningful conversations about the curriculum, the assessment, the student support. We created spaces where students could voice their concerns, where faculties could listen, engage, and then respond. An example of that was the faculty resource, which is an idea that came in RBC when at the chairperson of the SAAC, that each faculty is given a task to put the faculty in resource and provide feedback to the council. And raise the concern that students raised during the faculty in resource. The main problem is that two students might come to us to say that I have this issue, but the other student won't come to you to say this, what's happening. So the faculty invasion was to tell students that here's an invasion. Any concern that you might seem as if it's small to you, it might be big to us. Or it might be big to you, it might be small to us. To come raise those concerns. We'll jot them down, we don't respond to you then. And then we'll provide feedback after we've engaged with the faculty properly. It was a very beneficial thing that we hosted. Students came, even though some were writing exams, some were busy, but it was very successful. Through all of this, we were reminded that representation really matters. That progress in any institution doesn't come from silence, it comes from dialogue with the people we lead. As a member of the SAAC, I also had the privilege of seeing how the work fits within the larger university landscape. Different faculties face different challenges, but commitment to academic excellence and fairness unites us all. It was inspiring to see how collaboration across all faculties could change and shape what the academic sphere of students. When we hosted our first faculty event, it was a coffee and muffin drive in the morning, and then for lunch we gave you stationery. That event drained us in. Because we had prepared for 300 students, I think so, but when we arrived in that morning, there were more than 400 students for only 300 muffins. Remember, there were still 70 of us, so on that track it said, okay, this event is for us, there are 220 muffins now. Now what happened is that when that 220 got their muffins, a decision was taken that comrades, you won't eat muffins here today. What you're going to eat is going to have coffee, you're going to buy a muffin yourself, or maybe you'll eat lunch to give students. No SFRC will say that they got a muffin that day. I didn't even know how the muffin tasted, because students were there. So we decided we were going to take a break, an hour break, and then come back to prepare for lunch. Students said they were not going anywhere. The line was there. When lunch came, students fought. I had to even stand and front it. Guys, please stand in the line. Don't push. Do not blink. Said to students, I cough. That's painful, but remember, I'm working as a student leader to say, oh, sorry, sister, sorry, and then go back to the line. Students got something we did not get, but we did issue communication that first come, first serve, guys, we've got limited resources. But our success wasn't just in the SFRC. It was shaping all our substructures, in which each played a crucial role in building a vibrant student community. Our academic societies, which former DSK participated in the moot courts, are shaping our university landscape, are showing students that there's more than than meets the eye. The community engagement teams that this street law took to go to old age homes, to orphanages, those are community engagement that show that the university student society really cares about the outside sphere. Our students supported gender offices, where we had to host our first hair drive launch. It was successful. We got a sponsorship from Always to issue sanitary towels to students. Sorry for that. Each substructure faced obstacles, from limited resources to academic pressures, yet we persevered. When we entered office, there was no budget that was available for us, and no direction of what we were going to do or how to finance our programs, which we said to RBC was, Chief, we're going to find a budget for us. We must host events. She said, where? I said, if you have to go knock by Mr. Makopene's office, you don't care. You must get a budget for us. Which she did, really. It was all the events we hosted were very big and very successful. The resilience and creativity of those people who supported us, from Mr. Makopene's office to Prof. Karakara's office, kept the spirit of the ASAC very alive. And their work deserved a deep appreciation. To the residence committees, this journey isn't going to be easy, guys. You can ask once before you. As we need a very different grade of students here. Students who don't just take anything, but they question. A typical example was the Colony Mediums, where I'm currently residing, where the House Committee just gave us a POA, saying that there will be a bride this year, there will be a slip and paint. We said, you guys are challenging us, really. So when they did that, they posted on the group. I said, how do you form a POA without communicating with the students? Who are you leading? Are you leading yourselves or who are you leading? They didn't want to get back to us. They said, you're unholding everything. We said, no event's going to be hosted until you listen to us. But thank God they did. Because they changed that POA upside down, they came with a bride. 2 brides in that. The moral of this is that a true leader doesn't just speak for others. They listen to them. As leadership begins with listening, and only those who hear your voices, only those who hear the voices of others can guide them very wisely. To lead people, you must first listen to their hopes, their fears, their ideas. And leadership proves with empathy. To my fellow outgoing substructures, thank you very much, guys. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you and your belief in service. Together, we've proven that leadership isn't just about positions or getting recognition within the university. It's about progress, accountability, and this year the heart. If you want to lead by heart, don't just want to say what I'm telling you, by March next year, there will be 8 arrest committees there. It will just be a arrest committee by me. You must have a heart for being a arrest committee. You must have a heart for being an SFRC. We've seen people entering this council for just a mere, what do they call this thing? Credentials. This is not about it. If you're not here for the heart, you're going to drop out. You must have heart saying that, I want to represent the students. I want to lead the students. That must be the alma mater. That must be what's in front of you. To the incoming SFRC and substructure leaders, congratulations, guys. It was a hard battle, you contested and then you won. Yet you're stepping into roles that carry influence, and real responsibility starts now. There will be challenges, guys. There will be days where leadership feels very heavy. But in those moments, you will remember why you started. Was the heart to tell William, or what? Stop, don't stop now, push. Lead with empathy. Listen before you act. Be brave enough to challenge what's not working, and humble enough to learn from those around you. Don't forget that there's a difference between arrogance and then there's a difference between disrespect. Never think this thing are the same. If you're not disrespectful to whatever you report to the deans or to the matrons or whatever you do, you're not going to be listened to. Be arrogant, come with facts, challenge these things if they don't work out. But don't just go there useless. Disrespect will let them not to listen to you. They'll make your term in office very difficult. Remember, you're not only inheriting offices here or titles, you're inheriting a legacy of trust and service to the revolution. As I hand over today, I do so with pride, gratitude and confidence in the future. The SFRC and RES committees are not just councils or committees, guys. It's a voice for justice, fairness, and student empowerment. To every student who shared feedback to our faculty resource during those engagements and raised concerns and offered their ideas for what we work best, thank you very much, guys. You give meaning to our service. To the faculty members who supported us, your openness and made our collaboration, made our work very possible. Thank you, Prof. Leah, for that. Fight for things that you care about, but do so in a way that will lead others to join you. That's by Hope Ginsberg. Fight for things that you care about, but do so in a way that will lead others to join you. As I conclude today, I leave you with this thought. Our time in office may end, but our impact continues through those who've inspired. May the next chapter of the SFRCs, RES committees, and all substructures be one of courage, unity, and continued excellence. I thank you.
I think everyone here should live by. Your role in student government is not just limited to leading and telling people what to do. It's about being an empathetic listener and an active representative. Before I introduce the next speaker, I just wanted to acknowledge some of the people who have the room. The Dean of the Arts and Humanities Faculty of MULA, the EMS Acting Deputy Dean Academic Planning of U, the Law Faculty's Deputy Dean Learning and Teaching of Mambene, the Executive Assistant to the Deputy Vice Chancellor Student Development and Support, Mr. Makopeni, the Acting Manager Student Governance, Ms. Seal, and also from the Office of Student Governance Advocate, Ms. Langa, and the delegation from residential services. The next speaker, I'd like to invite my successor, the President of the Student Executive Council, Mr. McIntosh Kasembe.
Before I start, I would just like to ask of us and each and every one of you in this room to just echo a sense of appreciation to the people that have ensured that these floors are swept, the lights are on, and ensuring that the logistical needs of this program are implemented. And at those times, they are often unsung nor even spoken about. I would just like us to give them a thunderous round of applause for all of them. Program Director, as you've warmly, I think, done the acknowledgements, I shall not do the acknowledgements, but just get straight right into it. You know, some years ago, I think it was a few years ago, a young, beautiful lady came to me and no, it's not what she came. But she came to me to the corridor of this university. You know, I could see that they're a student leader, maybe because you see a student leader just by their face, they're always stressed. And she came up to me as if it was someone who has lost sleep and someone who had lost a sense of safety and was shaking. She has been a leader of, I think, one of the residence committees. I won't mention her name. And you know, when you lead in a residence committee, you know all of the processes. You know that position form that you need to fill in. You know that when there's an incident, who you need to report to, which forms that you need to fill in, all of that. But that day, she did not tell me about forms. At least that's what I had expected when I met her. She told me about how she and other students had been failed by promises that were written down, by systems that said that they existed to protect, but which in practice were thin as paper. She said, you know, man, we can chant the slogans as much as we like, we can file the reports, but if no one listens to us, what then? I've never forgotten that voice, and that corridor, that discussion, resonates with many of you and many student leaders that have embarked on this process as a result of such discussions, initiating what is now the Student Governance Constitution, a lot of deliberate discussions that were initiated there. Those are the results of those types of moments. We are gathered here for an inauguration which should be, which must be, more than just a ceremony. It should be a covenant between those who we elect and those who have entrusted us. It should be a promise that the structures we lead will not be cages or even silos, nor ornaments of governance. They must be the instruments of dignity and the instruments of what we call a real fundamental change in student governance. Now, to those who know me and have always seen me speak, I tend to want to be a bit honest. So I want to be very brutally honest from the sincerest place in my heart by saying this. You see, student leadership at many universities, and at times ours, has been trapped by a certain level of limitations. The limitations of resources, the limitations of budgets, the limitations of silencing and the victimization of student activists, the limitations of bureaucracy, and worst of all, the limitations of courage, which is sometimes guised as being disrespectful. We have committees that meet to meet. And in that being said, we have sometimes reports that are produced to be shelved, sub-councils that are more about representation on paper than about the impact on the ground. But the existence of the Student Governance Constitution, I think, Mr. Makopeni, gives us strong goals. It gives us the skeleton of participation. A defined SRC, a defined student assembly, faculty councils, a sports council, postgraduate representation, international license. That document lays out the duties, the treasuries, and the accountabilities of it all. It's not just rules. It is the architecture for what we call student power that is to be exercised very responsibly. And when that power is given to us, we must use it. But you see, the very interesting point in this argument that I aim to bring forth here today is that these rules and power, without the will, are cold. So the question that this inauguration must answer is simple. Will we use our constitutional position to break the limitations that have curtailed student power? Or will we inherit the very same old respectable failures that the student leadership has been described by? Let me tell you what today really means. For the first time ever, in our university's history, every arm of student governance, every council, every committee, each and every representative that is seated here stands in this hall side by side, shoulder by shoulder, under one roof. That is not administration, in my opinion, that's transformation. Because today is not just an inauguration, I think it's a sense of integration. The faculty council, or rather shall I say, for too long, I think, we have governed in fragments. The faculty council's plans an academic drive, but the sports council doesn't know anything about it. ASAC is fighting its own cultural battles, while the Student Academic Affairs Council is fighting academic wars. The postgraduate students is pushing research advocacy, while the International Student Affairs Council is handling visa crisis. All in different rooms, all on different days, all speaking the truth, but speaking it alone. Now imagine this instead. A university where the faculty council collaborates with the sports council to drive the campaigns that enrich the mind and the body. Where the affiliated Student Structures Affairs Council energy amplifies the Student Academic Affairs Council's academic vision. Where the Postgraduate Students Affairs Council becomes the intellectual bridge linking undergraduate ambition to postgraduate excellence. And where the International Student Affairs Council ensures that the international student is not a guest in our house, but a co-owner of it. That is the university that we are building, not a violent democracy of structures, but a federation of power. Our Student Governance Constitution envisioned this moment long before it arrived. It called for coordination, it called for cooperation, and it called for co-governance. A system where student voices are not scattered, but they are synchronized. Not competing, but they're converging. It gave us duties, it gave us accountability, but most importantly, it gave us the authority to govern. You see, when we integrate Advocate GK, the science tells us this, that three things happen. Firstly, and I want you to remember this, firstly, we expand our scale. We stop being called small committees and become a movement, and we gain a sense of legitimacy. Because a united student voice cannot be dismissed as noise. It becomes the narrative of the moment. So when we extend our reach, when one structure speaks, the rest must echo. And that echo will shake the walls of bureaucracy and it will also give them flu, trust me. You will see that they will take leave when all of us speak in one voice. That tells you the essence, the importance, the significance of what the student governance constitution can do. So integration then, in my opinion, is not just a new structure. It's a new strategy. It is how we protect one another, how we amplify one another, and how we finally prove that students do not merely participate in governance, students govern this institution. So let me make the promise of this SRC today, on behalf of the student leadership. We will not let our structures be boxes. We will make them ladders for student leadership to climb together, ladders for those students who are often excluded and don't have access to climb into the academic conversation, and ladders for us to climb into institutional powers where the decisions are made. So as I reach the second last quarter of this address today, I just want to say that as I was walking, one of the questions that I was asked is, how do we actually change behavior and break these limitations that we exist under? I think that we do it not through command, but through connection. We do it by cultivating an operational relationship between the SRC and its substructures. One that is built on trust, clarity, and a shared purpose. Hear me clearly, hear me and hear me now. Our goal as the SRC is not to impose power. It's to distribute it responsibly. For too long, I think the SRC has been seen as the center of all decision making. And while that may be true, those decisions are only as a result of thoroughly consulting with our substructures. This era of substructures being ceremonial structures that are only known at the beginning of the year and the end of the year are gone. That era, we do not exist under it now. So every council, from the Student Academic Affairs Council, the Accommodation Affairs Council, the Affiliated Student Structures Affairs Council, the Postgraduate Student Affairs Council, and the International Student Affairs Council will have a very clear operational mandate, rooted in very measurable objectives and grounded in the Student Governance Constitution. But that mandate will not come from us telling you what to do. It will come from dialogue, it will come from a sense of shared planning, from collective definition of what kind of institution do we want to build in the University of the Western Cape. At the end of the year, at the end of this month rather, the SRC will enter into its annual strategic planning, where it will plan its plan of action for 2026. I think for the first time ever, this document must not be written in isolation. It must be written with the voices of our substructures, the priorities of our faculty councils, the needs of our sports council, the vision of our postgraduate council, and the international councils. And this will shape the agenda of the SRC come 2026. That's the new path that I propose as a theory. It's called the bottom-up governance model. That we will listen before we lead. We will consult before we decide. We will coordinate and will not command. Because you see, when leadership starts becoming participatory, accountability becomes natural. So this approach, I think, will turn our structure from a pyramid into a network, where every part is alive, informed, and empowered to act. I think that when we do this, we stop being a council about students and become a government of students. That is how we'll break the limitations, not by centralizing power, but by sharing it with precision and with purpose. But I must say, let me not all be beautiful, poetic, very charismatic. But let me be honest too, there will be days where we will fail at this. We will say that we did everything only for the result to be less than what we had intended for it to be. When that happens, SRC, we must not hide. We will publish what went wrong, explain why, and then fix it. And the Student Assembly is a place for this accountability. It must become a place where uncomfortable questions are asked and answered, not just a rubber stamp. And our Constitution mandates reporting and the Student Assembly's power to advise, and when necessary, to dissolve substructures that fail. And we will not fear using those kinds of tools if it means protecting the integrity of student governance. So when you leave this hall, as I'm about to conclude, I want you to carry these 3 principles, 3 practices that will break the limitations and build the path that we all want. The first thing, point 1, build systems that outlast personalities. You know, too often in student leadership, our victories are married to personalities. They're often married to the loudest voice, the most charismatic campaigner, the one whose energy fills the room, and the one whose energy fills the room for a season. And then that fades when their term ends. I have seen this pattern up in my leadership journey. I can name it for you all. I have led for the past 5 years as a floor rep, DSG of the Residents Committee of Unical, chairperson of college, chairperson of the South African Students Congress, provincial university, SRC president. I don't say this to boast, hear me. I'm not saying this, hear me. I'm not saying this to boast. I'm saying this because what I'm about to say is supported and I've seen it. That individuals will rise with great ideas and then collapse with them too. That is how we lose progress. When leadership starts being about a performance instead of a practice, we cannot afford that. So that's the first point that I want to leave you with, that we must build systems, simple, written and transparent systems that can survive beyond any individual. Systems where leadership handovers are not rushed into WhatsApp conversations, but are structured transitions with reports, calendars and mentorship. Systems where the budgets are accessible, not whispered about, where accountability is institutional and it's not personal. You see, that's not bureaucratic talk, that's freedom talk. If we build systems, we build continuity, and if we build continuity, we build a legacy. Point 2, I think we must connect representation to service. I see you, GK, where you're looking at me. I'm almost done, I promise. Being a representative is not a status, it's a service. Leadership is not a badge that you wear on your blazer or that you put on your Instagram bio. It's a burden that you carry on behalf of others. So we must return to the heart of activism, and at the heart of activism, it's service. Every council, every portfolio, every office must become a space of service, not perpetuating self-importance. That means having a regular office where students can find you. It means walking through those residences and not just sitting in offices and boardrooms. It means being accountable, not in reports written for show, but in the work that the students can feel and the students can see. Representation without service is what I call theater. And service without representation is charity. But we will have both, representation and service, alive, intertwined, and visible. So let service be our slogan, and the results be our revolution. The last point, I think we must use solidarity as a strategy, not a sentiment. Let me tell you what I mean by this. Solidarity is not a tweet on WhatsApp. It's not a photo op. It's not a moment of sympathy. It's a method of survival. So when the postgraduate students struggle to secure research funding, that's not their fight, that's our fight. Because at some point in the not so distant future, you will be a postgraduate. When the Sports Council cannot afford transportation to tournaments, that's not their problem, it's our problem. When the international students face housing crises or bureaucratic neglect from this institution, that is not a matter for their council alone, it is the concern of the entire student board. Solidarity must be operational. It must be a system of shared response between each and every one of us that is in this room. And that is how solidarity becomes a strategy. And when we master that, dare I argue, when our solidarity is not sentiment, but structure, we become unstoppable. So today, I want to say that you join a lineage of students who refuse to be small. We inherit the fights of former President Kony, former President Toto, former President Azania, former President Ulanu Shumi, former President Mandla Okenogyawa, former acting president. So we join that lineage. So that means that we must be bold, we must be accountable, and we must be disciplined. I ask that we stand together, we build the systems, we serve the students, and practice solidarity as a strategy. So as I step down off this podium, this wonderful opportunity that you have given me, I leave you with this provocation. If our structures remain the same after today, the same silos, the same invisible budgets, the same polite meetings, then history, I love this, history has no blank pages, doesn't care about your feelings. History will remember tonight as just another inauguration. But if 1 year from now, the corridors of this university are safer, the retention rates of the university climb, students in every faculty feel a tangible difference because faculty councils coordinate and they deliver, then today will be known as the moment when student governance broke its chains. So will it be so? That really depends on you. Not on me, not on a policy, on you, the incoming leaders, the deployees, the sports captains, the postgraduate conveners, and the internationalizers. I ask that you go and make governance matter. The SRC is with you every step of the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much, President. Thank you very much. I think the one thing we can take away from the speech and President McIntosh's speech is the fact that we need student structures that are going to collaborate with each other. We understand that there might be difficulties within all these particular structures, but unity and collaboration will ensure that we are able to continue with your term in office. It is very clear that being in leadership is not rosy, but as long as you have each other related, you are able to ensure that you have a good term, a term that is progressive and productive. We also think that the SRC president was able to tell us that we can be able to hold you accountable as students, structural students of the University of Helsinki. May you open your doors to the university. May you open your doors to the students who are here to ensure that they lead with you. May you not forsake them by guiding them in anything that they do. And right now we will be going to message of support and an oath taking that will be done by the executive assistant to the Deputy Vice Chancellor SDS, Mr. Makovedi.
Good afternoon. The part about message of support was canvassed here. I just want to declare good afternoon to colleagues. And this room is a little hot, so I am trying to be quick. And I've got the liberty to be quick because I did not have the speech, the eloquent speech like the president's one. Colleagues, I just want to check from this one, how many of you have read the institutional operating plan? Now the response is overwhelming. I'm not going to tell you what my reading is. I think the president has made quite a number of points that I think we need to hit. The university attempted this process, I tell you, 10 years ago, to integrate student leadership at UWC. We started slowly by introducing a performance clause in the Constitution, which was a real struggle. But through persuasion, we were able to find each other. Because there was one episode, I came from EMS when I was a student there. So we were dealing with what we call academic exclusion. So this fellow that was accompanying us was on the list as a student leader. So it was number 15, I still remember it now, number 15. Then I could see he was uncomfortable around number 12. And then said to me at number 13, I'm going to the bathroom. So when I looked around, I realized that this number is number 15. Because he was uncomfortable that his matter is going to be discussed in his presence. Was how do you become a referee and a player? As a student leader, was how do you negotiate for yourself that please have mercy because I was a student leader, therefore please readmit me. So I'm saying that I'll say the imposition of a performance clause put this university in good state. Because we understand that when you become a student leader, that you perform very well. I must say here that there are quite a number of issues that the SLC would always raise with executive management, with senior management at large, that includes DINARI and many other important institutes. They talk about academic support. I think this is something that we need to embrace. Because there is this idea that when students become leaders in a formal sense, their performances drop tremendously. And that is something that we must address systemically as an institution, so that instead of going down, the performance must go up. So that's something that we've got to address. The other thing that I think is very important, I asked you about the IOP. I did not mean to make you uncomfortable. Because the IOP is an institutional plan, out of which you have various policies, strategies that emanate from the IOP. As student leaders, you've got to know the IOP. You've got to know the IOP because when the president talks about accountability, you must be able to say to the VC, DVC, whoever, that your IOP says by this time we would have achieved the following, and that is not happening. What's going on? So without you knowing the IOP, we are leaving a very important vacuum. And I'm telling you that when we gather here some other time, I'm going to ask this very same question. Whether we have taken time to read the IOP. You know, what I'm proposing to student governance at large and my colleagues is that we know that the IOP is a 5-year plan. But the president eloquently stated that student leaders plan on an annual basis. So there's a disconnect there. There's a disconnect that we must address so that there's continuity and change in our ecosystem. So that students know that this SLC started here and they left here and we have a responsibility to move from this point onwards. Rather than say that, no, it was in this SLC, therefore we do not want anything to do with this report, to start putting it aside. That's not very progressive. So I'm saying that you have our support in this journey, and I'm standing here, in leadership there are good and bad times. Sometimes there are times when you get confused. But there's also a possibility that you can also unconfuse yourself in that process. So a number of things are very unhappening, but I can guarantee you that the university will try its best. And I always say to Advocate Klaga, you must drive a Polo and not expect it to perform when the engine is that of a Rolls Royce. I always use that example because I'm saying that there's relativity in what you can be able to do. So we will help the SLC, we will help the structures through residential services and other forums, but we must not expect a solution that's going to address everything at the same time. And one of the things we've got to emphasize or to sustain the role of students as fundraising, we must be outward looking. Because if you read, that's why I'm going to insist on this, colleagues. You've got to know the higher education landscape, know what's happening with the higher education budget, so that you can be able to understand exactly, is it universities that are refusing to invest in something? Or is the national fiscus not giving us enough space to make the choices we want? So those are very important discussions. That the President cautioned us against, that it does not need theater. It needs us to have carefully crafted solution so that we can be able to work together to improve this university with you at the center of it. Because you are the catalyst for change. And I'm saying here, you must quote me that we will work together this journey, but I must be honest that I know the current House student leadership. That's why Mr. Spindler is laughing. We're not going to have rosy moments every time, but we can tell you that we don't take differences personal. That because you differ with me, you become enemy number one. But you must rest assured, we will engage you to understand where you are coming from, with whatever position that you are coming up with. So for me, on behalf of the executive, congratulations to you, and we wish you all the best. Thank you very much. And now to the second part of my obligations here. We'll call an emergency meeting after this. Yeah, so I will ask the structures to rise, and they will follow me as I'm reading the oath of office. So, so that we can get this thing right. I'm going to read the oath. After I say I, then you mention your name and the surname. As soon as you mention your portfolio, in the service of, then you mention the structure, and then affirm your faithfulness to the students in that structure. So that's the order of the oath. Are we ready? In the presence of those assembled here, and in full realization of the high calling, I assume as the in the service of at the University of, I hereby affirm ways. But I take it that you said what was here. Yeah, thank you very much. So you will then sign the oath after this. Okay. Yeah, so you sign the oath after this. So I think my part is done. Thank you very much.
Can you also sit down? Thank you very much, Mr. Martin. I think the highlight from the message of support was in leadership there will be good and bad times. So it will not always be rosy, as Mr. Mabokeng said. I would like to call upon Ms. Akona Mbosi to come and deliver the acceptance speech. Ms. Akona Mbosi.
Good afternoon, noble members of the SRC, distinguished members of the Student Governance Office, our student leaders, and the broader UWC community. My name is Akona Ngosi, the former Deputy Chairperson of the Sports Council and currently the Secretary of the Rugby Committee. It is both a privilege and an honor to stand before you, representing all student structures of our university community. On behalf of every structure represented here, I extend our deepest gratitude for the Student Governance Office for this opportunity and to the SRC to continue their leadership and commitment to the student representative. Today's inauguration marks more than just the beginning of a new term. It signifies a renewed commitment to service, collaboration, and transformation. It is a reminder that leadership within this university is not merely about occupying a position. It is about the purpose, accountability, and collective advancement of the student body. As we take up this responsibility, we should do with a shared vision to strengthen unity among all student structures, ensuring that no voice goes unheard. As we to build bridges between governance, academics, and student life, creating a holistic environment for every students to thrive. And lastly, to uphold the values of the institution with fairness, equality, and transformation in every decision we make. The road ahead will not always be easy. Leadership will test our patience, our values, and our resilience. There will be challenges, but as leaders, we should know that every challenge is an opportunity for growth. We draw strength from the values that define this institution and from the support the University of the Western Cape gives us. To my fellow student leaders, let us remember that our titles are not symbols of power, but instruments of service. But let us be leaders who listen, who act, and who uplift. Let our work this term be defined not by words, but by the impact we make. The kind that leaves UWC stronger, more inclusive, and more united. In closing, I wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude or thanks to the Student Governance Office for the guidance and unwavering support, to the SRC for its leadership, and to every substructure present today for your dedication to your peers and this institution. Together, let us continue to move from hope to action through knowledge. Thank you. You're officially out of power.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to welcome you to leadership. You took your oath, and immediately when you said so help me God, we will now refer to you as your portfolio leadership, SG Chairperson. That is what you call your name will no longer just managed to introduce you. So right now, I will be giving it to the mother of residential committee members, someone who has seen majority of us who are in leadership grow, someone who has influenced our leadership. Right now, I would like to welcome Ms. Yasana Boysen.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am not used to ascending the podium on a general things. I'm always used to ascending the podium when I'm going to present my academic work. So I asked my fellow friend advocate to remove me from the program, but he didn't want to. So whatever I'm going to say, please accept it as it is. Okay, I know our VC is not here, but I would like to start my greetings by saying Vice Chancellor, Prof. Balfo, our mother of SDS, Prof. Matete, our amazing MCs. One of them is very short. I'm sure today you guys can see him more. You guys are doing an amazing job. Thank you so much. Faculty staff present, SDS staff present, the SRC members under the leadership of McIntosh. He was a house com, but now it's a res com. Hi, President. The general student of UWC, and most importantly, the newly inaugurated student leaders, and all protocol observed. It gives me a great pleasure to introduce to you the newly inaugurated committees and councils. This marks an important and a very important milestone in our institutional growth and commitments to excellence. I will now officially and formally introduce our substructure that form part of the SRC S2C. When I call your substructure, please can I have the SRC presiding officer to stand with the fellow members so that we can see who we can go to in times of need. January is coming for all of us. Exactly. Because I know, AAO, I know, we say he's a landlord of our institution, so we know that time is coming. But most importantly, I will start with the Student Representative Council. Some of you didn't go to the inauguration, but let us welcome our SRC. Can we have them standing up and give a wave to our audience? Thank you, SRC, under the leadership of McIntosh. Next, I'm going to go to the educated people, the postgraduate affiliation council. Can I have the postgraduate people standing up? So that in January we know who to go to in time of need. After that, we have the International Student Affairs Council. Can I have that? We have Affiliated Student Structures Affairs Council. We have Student Sporting Code Committees. Can I have them all up? Thank you so much, the people that work closely with me. I am the coordinator for student leadership and support for residential services. So now I'm going to call up all the residence committee members together with their AAO. Last the faculty representatives committee. I now officially welcome you on board, and I wish you all the best in your journey. I hope by the time we end our term of office next year, you'll be as ready as this one. I'm not hoping for any resignation. It will get difficult, but I hope we will hold each other's hand. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Wisen. Since you mentioned that the Syria and I are doing such a great job today, I hope that we'll get paid next time I ask to do this. We have almost reached the end of our program. I'd like to invite Advocate J.K. Mhlanga from the Student Government's Office to come and deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Speaker. I think we're used to calling you President, so yeah. But thank you so much, President. Thank you so much, faculty, for she's in charge of faculty, so we used to call her faculty while she was in the SRC. Both of them are products of student governance. And them standing here today, just as President was saying, that it's not just a mere symbol, but it just shows that from being in student governance, there's always an opportunity for you guys to move across. Just because your term of office has ended does not mean that the relationship you had with student governance has completely ended. There's always an opportunity for you to come back and plow back to all the structures or any other structure that you had an opportunity to serve in. As you guys are sitting here today wearing your black and white, I was reminded of 2014. Me and Sia were sitting where all these rescoms were sitting as well. She was getting inaugurated as a House Committee member for Eduardo dos Santos. I was getting inaugurated as a chairperson for Kasinga when it was still existing by then. It's still there, but I'm told that it's under construction now. So we're just showing you guys that there definitely is a pipeline, and once you finish your term of office, please do not forget about us. But mine is very simple, as I was taught. Mine is very simple. It's just to come here and thank a couple of people who have contributed not only towards this day becoming a success that it is, but largely towards student governance. First, I'll start off with Prof. Matete, who's not here today. Thank you so much, Prof, for your support. And I'll also come through to the executive assistant, to the DVC, Mr. Marco Penes, who was here today. I was telling me that I'm actually pulling him by asking him to also give the message of support. And I also told him that I'm not the only one he's not the only one who's being bullied. I've also had my own fair share of being bullied in the office. So everyone else gets bullied around here. Mrs. Sil, thank you so much for your support. Colleagues at the office, Ms. Tracy, I'm sure the structures probably know her by now. I say that she's the engine in the office. She keeps everything else going. Karabo and Andy, who are seated at the back, who are assisting with the verifications where necessary. Thank you, colleagues, so much. And there's also one person who is not here. I believe that when we were having the substructures elections, there was one person who was largely bombarded with emails. It's one person that you're most likely not going to see. Is a guy by the name of Sima from ICS. He was the one who assisted us in terms of how do we design jot form to at least be able to serve our needs when we're facilitating these elections. It was a last minute request. He came through. He was in a position to assist us with that. So I'm truly grateful to him, or rather the office is truly grateful to him for his support and assistance as well. I see with us we also have various members from various faculties. We hope that you being present here, it's not just a symbol, as President was also saying, but not just a symbol of saying that we're there in the beginning. You'll be there in the beginning. We're hoping that you'll be there throughout. You know, most of them, the SRC is wearing suits, they all look all nice. The others are wearing black and white, that largely belongs to them. I'm hoping that in their term of office, they won't have to struggle, whether they are faculties or whether they are house coms or whether they are code committees, to get a simple thing like a golf shed or a simple thing like a hoodie. I'm hoping that that is a commitment that by presence here today, we're at least committing to support all of the students here. We have volunteered themselves to say that I am willing to do what others deem to be unpopular to do. I am willing to take the burden that the president was talking about there, to say that being in leadership is having to take a burden upon your shoulders, to say that I am going to lead students, I'm going to make sacrifices. At times those sacrifices are even detrimental to them. But the sad thing about it is that they largely do it only to benefit experience from it. There's nothing that we're largely doing to say that we are going to support them. The university has more than 20,000 students. Liema was saying that they accommodated or they created an event to cater for about 300 students. There's no faculty that has 300 students in this institution. Most faculties have thousands of students. We are hoping that at least faculties will be able to assist in the funding of those programs so that Liema and many others who are in the SFRC will also get to eat your muffin and coffee as well. We are hoping that most of their events and programs will largely be funded. We are hoping that the last point of frustration will not be coming from faculties, will not be coming from residential services. In fact, whenever they are frustrated, will be their point of call in terms of having to offer them support. I am hoping that by our presence here today, that is largely what we are here to signify, or largely what we are here to largely symbolize. So thank you so much to the faculties that are present here today. We are also hoping that when it comes to the plight of student athletes, it won't be a case of having to choose between your academics and your sporting talent. We are hoping that faculties will be in a position to continuously offer the necessary support that they need at all times. And with that being said, to the SFRCs, we are hoping that faculties are not going to turn you guys into prefects, because you are not supposed to be prefects. You are supposed to be there to govern students, engage in uncomfortable conversations. The students have elected you to be able to engage in those uncomfortable conversations that they themselves are uncomfortable with having to have. You said you are brave enough. Show you that element of you being brave by having to step up and engage in those uncomfortable conversations. The President was talking about the concept of co-governance. You also have your role to play. Never should it be that you are told that you are a student, you cannot participate in a faculty meeting, or your contributions are largely limited to you being an observer in a faculty meeting. That's not your role. Your role is to go there and say that how does it make sense that students are writing an exam at 6 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, when one still has to catch a train or takes a go back to Kailichi. Most of them are largely going back to Kailichi because we do not have enough accommodation to accommodate most of them. Accommodation, it's all good and well. We are all seated here. This is not a complete structure in terms of how student governance should be. Rescoms, you are here. There's one component that is still missing when it comes to your council appeal. Hopefully in your term of office you look into it. We do not have a committee that currently represents private accommodations. And with that being said, the moment that we are able to at least get that, students become active, students play their role, and hopefully management will definitely feel the flu that the President was talking about, so that private accommodations can actually have some form of attention being paid up to them. So that students do not have to suffer being robbed in private accommodations, do not have to suffer in terms of having to stay far, or wherever the places that they may be. So it still becomes your duty that you, I hope, that you'll take it upon yourself to see to it that those things are dealt with. But all that I'm saying is that an element of collaboration needs to exist amongst you guys. As President has said that you guys coming into office to compete is not going to help you. And me talking like this is me thanking you for even being in office now. Thanking you guys for even accepted the call to come through and serve. So it's part of my vote of thanks. So postgraduate students, as President was saying, you have your own issues. That for the longest of time they were only attended to by a limited few in this institution. It was a place where student governance could not go. Whether it was an impression of saying that student governance does not have the capacity to be able to do postgrad, we are going to defy those odds. We are going to change that narrative. And we're only trusting that you guys are going to be able to do that. Same thing with international students. For the longest of time, it was deemed as if student governance is only for South African students. As President has said, we are not visitors in this university. In fact, we pay up front and we only pay through NSFAS. So that's all that I'm going to say there. Affiliated structures, the very same thing. There's a lot of things that you guys still need to come into office and be able to deal with them. We have committees that we do not train or only offer partial training. If Akane and his council, as I used to call it, do not take the effort, would have been able to be in the back foot. We're hoping that you guys will be the ones who are going to put us under pressure to say that we need training for committees, because some of these people who are sitting here, the SRC members, they've never led in any of the structures here, but they've led in most of the affiliated structures. Are we saying that those structures are not structures that can capacitate them enough? We need you guys to be able to take up that fight and fight it for those students and for those structures that are affiliated. Your role is not to only book venues and host events. You have a lot to do. The university is definitely counting on you guys. For the longest of time, sports was thinking that you guys are isolated. You are there, the stadium, everything else happens there. Don't fool yourself. Student governance also requires you guys to play a role. There are a lot of issues that student athletes are currently facing that unless you guys stand up for yourselves, there's nothing that you're going to do. Practical example, I was sitting here, I was able to hear everything else. And Besoe told us that there are students who are seated at the back who are not able to hear what is being said. I was sitting in the comfort. I was able to hear. You guys are seated at the back. You are not able to hear. That should tell you something. We may play our role to a certain extent, but we'll never experience what you guys experience. We're largely depending on you guys to be able to tell us in terms of what it is that students actually want, and largely being led by your own experiences. Like I said, it's my vote of thanks, thanking you guys for having accepted the difficult task of coming through and serving. So, with that being said, before I conclude up, I think I touched on each and every single structure, right? So I touched on all the structures. President and your SRC, thank you so much. And I hope that your role won't be indeed limited to you guys posting and changing your statuses on Insta to say SRC is SRC. You look good in your suits, and I'm sure the pictures look good too. May your work also prove that as well. You see the rest of the students that are seated here, they're all depending on you guys to play the leadership role. Each one of you guys is largely tasked with having to oversee their performance throughout. Should it be that they fail, never remove yourself from that conversation of their failure. To all the structures that are present here, President has said that it's not going to impose themselves, so the SRC is not going to impose themselves. We also hope that you guys will also have a role to play when you are being called upon to discuss in terms of consultations and participations in other items as well. So with that being said, colleagues, I'd like to thank everyone else who's present here. I've already thanked you enough. That was my vote of thanks to you guys. So say thank you for coming into office, thank you for having accepted the duty to come through and serve. And I also see Mr. Mahase and Mr. Mchengenye who are coming through from the Central Services, and Mrs. Babus Mzalazala, Ms. Babus Mzalazala. And Mr. Mahase, thank you so much. And I'm sure the RESCOM of Unibel 1 is always grateful to have you around. A short story about Mr. Mahase. Many years ago, I'll not tell you because you end up knowing his age. He was also seated here as well. He was a former CAC chairperson, former CAC SACO. So we still have some timber that we're able to keep in the system. So colleagues, with that being said, thank you so much. There's a couple of students that I specifically want to thank. Where is Prince? I think Prince is at the back. I just want to thank Prince. Can you just give Prince a round of applause? Prince and Fato is also not here. There's also Singulele who assisted us with the anthem. Thank you so much, from the Creative Arts Choir. There's also Uhle, I believe she's a RESCOM of Chris Hani. Where's Uhle? Unibel 2. Okay, thank you so much, Uhle. The chairs that you're all seated on right now, Uhle was one of the two people who came to assist us in terms of picking. So thank you so much for that, Uhle. And our two lovely MCs, thank you so much for volunteering your time. Liema, thank you so much. We're hoping that that is not the last time that we'll ever get to hear or see you. And Akona, thank you so much for having accepted the opportunity to be able to come through and take the acceptance speech. And before I step down, colleagues, I just have a few announcements. Core committees, you know that there's a duty or there's something that we have not yet completed. We still have a council to constitute. We are meeting at what time? 4 o'clock. Soma Rescom has requested that Rescoms will stay and you guys are going to meet at 3:30. So you'll be 3:30. So you'll be meeting here at 3:30. That's what OCI has requested. And to the others that are here, chairpersons of faculties, you are still requested to forward your pictures. Remember, we still have an appointment for tomorrow. And those various members in the councils who have seats in the student assembly, you are also still requested to forward your pictures. So I think that, just to make sure, because if you don't mention So yeah, that's basically it from my side. And once more, thank you to every one of you guys who have accepted this unpopular decision. And can we have one sitting there? Hello? Thank you everyone else for having accepted this task to come through and lead. And I must apologize to everyone else that we did not start at 1:10. We started a bit late. Most of you guys know I have an issue with being for time, but however, due to logistical difficulties, we're not able to start on time. But other than that, I'm wishing you guys all of the best. As Mr. Marco Penny said, there will be the good, there will be the bad. And some of you guys, it's going to largely be the bad, but trust me, take the bad as well. That's the truth of the matter. I've been there, done it, I bought a t-shirt, I'm still wearing the tie today. So trust me, for most of you guys, it might be the bad, but even in the bad, you'll still find yourself in it. Don't only enter to lead. Enter to learn so that you can be able to depart to serve. And thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. GK. That brings us to the end of the program. May you enjoy your term in office and good luck. Thank you very much.